approach to a lot of what I do is like all or nothing, and I believe in just dedicating myself fully to something. I'm not kind of the wishy-washy on the fence type of person. It's just like you give it everything you got. I don't know where I thought I had this vision that I literally could make it to that point of like literally being a legitimate contender to make an Olympic team, but that's what I thought. I'm meant to do this. I just never believe in, you know, kind of settling for anything. It's crazy how things work out. I believe we're close to 8 weeks out from the Olympic trials, and all the hard work is starting to like culminate right now, and still have really 6 weeks of really good hard training. But yeah, I'm feeling really good. The idea of the half marathon in San Antonio came from Jerry, basically. He had thrown out the idea of a possibility of when we kind of leave our altitude stints, we look for a race to kind of jumpstart the training. It's not necessarily racing it, but I think with where I was at physically, I think the best and safest route was for me to just do it as a tempo effort and to see if I could maintain a specific pace that Jerry picked out. That was good, just got in a good rhythm and settled in and enjoyed the run, and I had Alistair and Amy, and so we just kind of did our thing, and it wasn't anything like super special. It was just exactly what Jerry wanted us to do. So. And now like the real turnover and real specific work towards marathon starts. Today was the beginning, and then now we just really like steam in 6 weeks of some really good stuff. Back up to altitude, and then LA. You know, I've got a lot of work left to do. So. The 10 years of training that I've had behind me allows me to kind of just make really good transitions between the track and the marathon. None of that training has left my body, and it remembers how to go 26 miles. So I draw upon my experience and my continued training over 10 years, and the body is amazing, and mentally I just remember how to do it. And I've had a lot of experiences to build off of, and just I'm a lot more patient in my training than I was in the past. I got my start in running probably at a pretty young age. Boulder, Colorado is where my parents were living when I was born, and I didn't live there for very long, but it was kind of like this Mecca hotspot. A bunch of runners were living there, and it was before Boulder was really cool kind of thing. Basically, my parents were both working at Frank Shorter's running store, and I basically grew up in the back of a running store. So I was really just saturated in this culture of running. My mom was a world record holder in the marathon, and then my dad was also multiple-time member of world cross-country teams. So the combination, I got some good genetics for running. But yeah, it was just the culture. Like, I just thought everyone's parents went and ran. I didn't realize that that was kind of a unique situation. My parents never pushed me into running. They were always supportive of my excitement and passion for the sport. However, I think they always tried to throw other sports in the way. Like, I'd beg them to go for just little runs around parks and stuff, and they'd say, well, let's just go throw a Frisbee, or, you know, like, let's just kick a soccer ball. And I think they had this foresight, this really innate like kind of feeling that I was going to be drawn to running. I think they could tell that from a very young age that I loved it, and so I think they just wanted to make sure that I didn't get into it too young, and that I just always had like little tastes of it, and that I developed myself as a well-rounded athlete, learning a bunch of different skill sets. I think I was just immersed in this really special time frame of American distance running, and I was a product kind of that culture. So we're here in Flagstaff, and I'll be here for basically 30 days. I'm already 2 weeks into my stint here, and today gonna do like a medium long run. I'll do about 90 minutes, and we'll be doing it on this famous Lake Mary road. I always think about when I'm running it how many people have run right here, like up and down this road. It's pretty crazy to think of how many marathoners and track runners and how many miles like they've logged on this road, especially the people that live here. Like, this is a great place for workouts because it has the markers out here. So Flagstaff is a really special place because you get the high altitude. There's like a really great community of support, and so I feel like whenever I come up here, I kind of can reach out to all the athletes and the coaches, and they're very supportive. You know, it's like my home away from home almost. I've started to learn where all the trails are, and there's a comfort level, and it's kind of nice to come back every time, and just having the support system and the people, I think, is what really draws people here. Yeah, sometimes during certain times of the year, this road, like, you'll come out here and there's like literally like 10 cars and they're all runners. It's pretty funny. Like, especially after the new year, a lot of the track runners will start to do like their base out here, and it gets kind of crowded actually, but kind of fun at the same time. Boulder for sure, I think is definitely just more of an outdoorsy community. So when we moved to Marblehead, it definitely was a different contrast. You have the 4 seasons and definitely some good harsh winters. We're in Boulder, I remember it snowing, but then quickly, a day later, the snow would be gone. And so it was definitely a little bit of a different culture, but as soon as I became old enough, I realized that the marathoning scene in Marblehead and in the greater Boston area was really big. While we traded, you know, the high altitude in the mountains, all of a sudden there's this community of the Boston Marathon, and that became something that I became enamored with and just fell in love with. I have fond memories of fitness test in grade school because I absolutely loved running and I loved beating boys in sports. So the 2 of them were great because whenever we'd get to the physical fitness test in the mile, I literally would have like heart palpitation and butterflies knowing if we were doing that in gym class that day. I would get super excited. That's when I felt like I fell in love with running, was literally just that test. I felt like I'm meant to do this.
Do you know how cold it is today?
What?
Do you know how cold it is today?
I'm guessing it's like upper 30s right now.
Is that cold for you?
Yeah, it actually kind of is. I don't know if I should be wearing tights. But Amy told me she was gonna wear shorts, so I was trusting her. But once you get moving, it feels good.
Yeah, just like getting back into the build-up for the marathon, and everything is going well, so I'm pretty excited. As soon as you start it and it starts getting close, you kind of have a renewed zest for it. Yeah, it's been fun. All right, I'll see you guys.
All right.
This way?
Yeah.
They've got your bottle, so.
Cool, thanks.
I told them that when we got to the end, that you would you'd ask for it. First cross-country season, I remember initially being very sad seeing all my teammates take off on a bus to go play soccer. But I quickly got over it and really embraced it, really started to have a lot of fun because I love to win. I ended up winning the Massachusetts State Meet my first cross-country season, and that's when it became really popular in my school to run cross-country the next year. My high school accolades were good, but nothing foreshadowing of anything great. I think it was just all really solid. I didn't run all year round until I got to college, so there was a lot left in the tank in high school, and I could have been a much better high school runner.
I actually had some rough high school moments. I think I was so aggressive in my racing style, and I didn't get to race a lot of the big meets and face a lot of competition. So I was used to running a lot on my own, and I was very uncomfortable when I was thrown into these big meets and I was put in this situation of really having to compete, and I didn't really know how to react. So I had some rough like up and down moments actually in high school with how to like channel my nerves and my excitement. So I had a tendency to actually sometimes like collapse because I would run too hard. The little voice in my head would just be like, you know, you're in a lot of pain, you're in a lot of discomfort, but I would just override it and I'd keep pushing and pushing to the point of literally not finishing races. I raced definitely like a kamikaze style. I wanted to just literally crush people before the race even started. Probably the greatest example of that was my senior year in Foot Locker. I took the mile out in about 5 minutes, which is really fast for a high school kid, and it almost worked, except that I didn't finish. I literally was in the lead and collapsed in the final chute area. That was just a really tough lesson. I was really devastated over that because I felt like I actually had a really good chance to win the national title, so that really hurt. But sometimes it's like those moments that down the road you kind of trade it for something even bigger. It's like you get these moments, it's delayed gratification, and I truly believe like not making what I thought in high school was the biggest event and just was devastating to me, and it's like then to look down the road and like, well, actually I have an Olympic medal now, and it's crazy how things work out.
Where did this kamikaze style, you know, of wanting to beat people so bad, where'd that come from?
I have no idea. It's just innate. It's just who I am. I think my approach to a lot of what I do is like all or nothing, and I believe in just dedicating myself fully to something. I'm not kind of the wishy-washy on the fence type of person. It's just like you give it everything you got, just wanting to commit fully and knowing that I gave everything.
So how was it? First longest run thus far?
Yeah, what was that? Hour 36. So that's 12 jury miles, but I went like 14.7. So yeah, it's a pretty good quality run. It's always hard at altitude. The effort's always much harder. So I think we were averaging around like 6:30-ish a mile. So that's a pretty solid long run for me right now, since I haven't done a long run since like over an hour and a half since August. So I'm pretty happy with that, and everything feels attached and feels good, and so yeah.
In high school, I was so excited to go to college just to create a team. I just felt like I would enjoy running more if I shared it with other people, and I wanted to just be in a culture where it was supported, and I just felt like I would thrive off of that kind of environment. So I ended up taking a look at Penn State, Villanova, and Providence in North Carolina. And North Carolina was kind of like the wild card, like, why not? You know, it seems like it'd just be nice to go visit and just see what it's all about. But once I got down there, I saw the potential of building kind of a really amazing team. And I thought, you know what, this would be fun to be a part of something new and build something new. And the idea of just creating something new and special is what kind of pulled me towards North Carolina. Freshman year was really great. I placed 4th at NCAA Cross against a really stellar field. Kara Goucher won that year. I had never thought as a freshman I would be 4th in the NCAA when I had never made Foot Locker. Oh, my sophomore year, the super fun year. My race at Furman University my sophomore year was a really challenging and difficult race in the sense that the night before, and I don't think they do this anymore, but I was given like the National Cross Country Runner of the Year award. And I hadn't lost a race all year, and here I was a sophomore, and I was 4th the year before, so the expectations were, well, you know, you want to place higher than last year, and so, well, what does that mean? It's, you know, 3rd, 2nd, or 1st, and so that's a lot of pressure on a sophomore, I guess. Everyone expects me to win, and I could just feel myself just starting to kind of get this kind of level of hyper anxiety and was having a hard time controlling my nerves. I ended up having a race plan that I executed, however, I just executed it a little too extreme. My coach had said that there should be a point in the race where I throw in a really hard 800 to try to drop the field. Well, I threw in a really hard 800, so hard that I literally made myself come to literally a walk to a stop. Which is really embarrassing and really hard to watch, I think, for a lot of people, because they're like, what just happened? Like, this girl was running fine and she's winning, and she literally comes to a stop and like just starts walking up a hill. I collected myself and I regained composure, and I think I ended up finishing maybe like 14th or something. But that moment was kind of a defining moment, because I realized like I have to get these nerves under control, and that I needed to turn this pressure, which seemed daunting and overwhelming, into just this state of being a privilege that people expect things from me. It took me the whole next year to kind of get over that and try to I actually went and saw a sports psychologist and just was able to talk things through, and really from that moment on I haven't had that kind of a moment again. I've been able to kind of work through the nerves and get to a place where it's like a really good competitive vibe and not overwhelmed. Oh God, me and my ugly feet. Thank God I got a pedicure, Amy. Yeah. Recently I've been having a lot of people work on my feet, so Amy and I decided we better have good looking toes. This is probably my favorite torture tool though. It's pretty effective. Where was the one that Alistair found? Oh yeah. It was really funny. It was one of, let's see, it was like Library of Health, this one. Yeah. We were looking up Shalane's injury in it to see if we could fix it.
Was it an old school,
Yeah.
like medical?
But it had, well, it was like something with childbirth, and it was really disturbing. In here is from, what year is this?
Year?
It's pretty old. 1916.
Wow.
So it's like
Yeah,
a little bit out of date. Alistair's like, oh sure, I can fix your foot. Bloodletting.
Vinegar and, yeah.
Yeah.
Put orange juice on it.
It says in here you shouldn't be running at all. It says give up.
No, it says you should be in the kitchen. Like 1960.
I learned so much from my sophomore year that I was not nervous about nationals my junior year. I felt like I had worked through all of kind of like those demons and self-doubts, and wanted to kind of prove that I really was legitimately a good cross-country runner and could execute a full race. So that was reaffirming and just made me feel so much better, like the monkey was off my back winning that national title. I felt just more than anything a huge sense of relief, because it's something that I had wanted for a really long time, to win a national title in cross country and to be on that stage. And the people I was competing against were really of high caliber, and it just meant a lot to me to finally just nail it, like to finally kind of have to go through those heartbreaks and those moments where the self-doubt, and then to finally have it all come together just was a really rewarding experience. Instead of just being handed to me on a silver platter, these wins, I had to go through some hard moments in order to get them, so. I felt like going into my senior year, I actually felt pretty calm. It was kind of one of those scenarios where I've done it before, I can do it again kind of mentalities. I've been there, I knew what to expect. I'd battled the demons, I'd come back, conquered them, and figured more out about myself than most because of those kind of moments. And it was very special because it was in Terre Haute, where my mom went to school, and it just was a nice culmination to my last cross-country race for Carolina, having it being in Terre Haute and to win the national title, and it was a nice kind of full circle moment.
At what point did you start thinking about, foregoing the rest of your eligibility and turning pro?
When I was being recruited to North Carolina, and I don't know if I even said this to any other school, but I told the head coach, Coach Craddock, I went and sat in his office, and they're going through, well, we'd love for you to come. And I said, well, that's great and all, but are you okay with my senior year? I want a red shirt. I want to try to make the Olympic team for Athens. And here I am, like a 10:24, 2-miler and 4:46. Like, I don't know where I thought I had this vision that I literally could make it to that point of like literally being a legitimate contender to make an Olympic team, but that's what I thought. After that cross-country season, I went back to my coaches and I said, can we still follow through with this plan that we had 4 years ago? And they said, yep, we're going to do this. So we're going to redshirt you. And we focused on becoming a 5,000 meter runner. I felt like that was my best chance to make an Olympic team. And it was actually a really great plan and a great experience. I got to really pick my races and was able to get the Olympic A standard along the way in the 5K and showed up in Sacramento and ended up running, I think, probably one of the highlight races of my life. I think it was like a real pivotal moment in my career and one of like my proudest races in Sacramento. I led basically the whole race except for the last 200 meters where I got out-kicked, but I was strong enough to hold on for third. Right before I made the Olympic team and I made the 5K final, I thought, if I make this Olympic team, I feel like that was the time to run professionally. If I can make an Olympic team, I should be running at another level then. In 2014, I had one of my best marathoning years ever, but I felt like something was missing. I decided I wasn't going to be fully prepared under that coaching system, and to really dive into the marathon, I needed a really good endurance coach. Getting myself to that next level that's going to be good enough to be on the team to go to Rio.